So Ellie, very excited to have you here at Collectomania and great to see you on Game of Thrones as well. How is it being one of the new girls?
It's absolutely amazing being one of the new girls. I'm so excited to be part of the gang. It's great.
And you've got a lovely gang on Game of Thrones, haven't you? You're with Bran, Isaac Hempstead-Wright. You're with Hodor as well, Kristian Nairn, Natalia Tena. How are those guys to work with?
They were all a lot of fun to work with, actually, because we were we formed like a little splinter group off from the main kind of cast. We were, sort of trekking around the woods, and like you can only stay sane if you're doing that with like nice, fun people, and they were great. Like we had a lot of fun out there. It was they were a fantastic little gang. We all got on really well.
Now I heard that from Kristian that he has a little pouch, a little belt, and he's carrying around everyone's iPhones in that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. He hides so much stuff in there. He has such a hard time because he has like this massive costume which is like incredibly heavy. Because we film loads of stuff outside, often it gets like really, really wet and really muddy. So by the end of the day, he's like kind of slumping around, being like, "Oh my God, I'm carrying around like 10 extra pounds." And but he's great. He's a really fun.
And you actually had a friend on the show before you came on, didn't you?
Oh yes, I did. Yeah, I went to university with Hannah Murray, who plays Gilly, and I got cast in the show, and we found out that we had a scene together, which is just amazing considering how many characters there are in Game of Thrones, right? So yeah, we had the scene together, which was a lot of fun, where we were both being a bit silly, but it was great. And yeah, it was really nice because we were filming at the same time out in Belfast together, so I hung out with her a lot. It was good.
Have you found filming in Belfast?
I've loved filming in Belfast, actually, because I'd never been to Northern Ireland before, and it's like the city is obviously amazing and it has so much kind of history. It's a really important place, but I hadn't realised that right outside of Belfast is like the most amazing countryside, which you see in the show, obviously. Like really, really beautiful landscapes. It was just like fantastic that it was like, oh, this is our job, to go out here and like watch the sunset over like this coast of Northern Ireland. It was fantastic. Yeah, it was great.
She's quite a feisty character, isn't she, old Meera, or young Meera even? Yeah. Now, one of the things we've seen you do this season is skinning rabbits. Tell me what that was like actually on set.
Well, yes, I'm now very good at it because it's certainly a skill that I've taken away from the job, but we had to get through a lot of rabbits because they filmed with so many camera angles, the show, so you can take like a day to do a whole day to do a scene, which is what we did with the rabbit skinning scene. And let me tell you, the smell of rabbits, you cannot get it out of your hands for about 2 days. And we were like, when we had to eat lunch, we were like, me and Nat were like, oh God, I can't eat anything, it smells too bad. But at least we have the skill of being able to skin them. But it was kind of like, that was a test. That was the most testing part of it. But actually, it was the most rewarding day because it's a really fun scene to do, despite rabbit corpses. So yeah, it was nice, despite all that.
And obviously, if you ever find yourself in like a Hunger Games scenario or something, you're golden, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Rabbit stew, I'm your lady. So.
And tell me about the costumes as well that you wear on the show.
The costumes are amazing, actually. Michelle Clapton is the costume designer, and she's incredibly talented. And I've worked with her on another thing before, on the Diary of Anne Frank a few years ago. And she's like really, really detailed in everything that she does. So like, my costume consisted of like, because we eat rabbits in the show, I had like rabbit fur, a real rabbit fur over my shoulders, and like this beautiful kind of fabric as a sort of cape, and this like laser cut leather from Italy, like as part of like kind of the moss, and a shirt with like real hair in it, like the whole thing. It was incredibly detailed, and like loads of like leather and like little mossy trousers. And I think it was definitely my favourite costume I've ever got to wear because it was just, it was so much fun. And I love being a girl in Game of Thrones who wears trousers. So
yeah, she's a real tomboy, isn't she?
Yeah, I think she's a bit like me in that respect. That I've never been like much of a girly girl, and so that's why as soon as I read the script, I was like, yes, I really want this part because she's so much fun. She's so badass. I love that about her.
And yeah, I like her attitude as well because she's when Osha says to her about, he can't protect himself, and you say something like,
where's the shame in that? Yeah, where's the shame in that?
And, it just means if someone can't look after themselves, they don't deserve looking after.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is the thing, like something that I really like about her as a character is that she's really, really feisty, but at the same time, she's an incredibly caring character, and like, she just really loves her brother Jojen. She's totally there for him. And they're a very cool pair. Like, he's totally cool with the fact that, like, his older sister, who's a girl, is protecting him, and she doesn't care that, like, that like that he needs protecting. She's totally up for it. So yeah, it's great. They're a really cute pair, I reckon, the two of them.
Kind of a mystery a little bit at the moment still, isn't it? We're learning a little bit more as each week passes. Warging's come up and Jojen's kind of teaching Bran what's going on. Osha's not at all impressed, is she?
Yeah, Osha is not down with all of that warging. She really doesn't like it, does she? No, you can only wait to just see. There's just going to be a lot more like exciting, talents and skills, which will be revealed to Bran through Jojen, who is like a mastermind. He's just kind of they call him, I think in the books, he's called Little Grandfather because he's like really wise beyond his years, and that is totally what Thomas Sangster is. He's like, he really enjoys like cigars and like motorbikes, and he's so lovely, but he's very grown up. It's great.
Cute. So it must be great working with those guys then.
Yeah, it was so much fun working with them, and as I said before, I was really lucky to be working with because we're such a tight-knit group, to be working with a really nice group of people, really good people, so it's good.
Now you said you're a bit of a tomboy yourself, a bit like Meera, so how do you think you'd make out if you were plonked in the middle of her world in Game of Thrones?
Well, I know now that I would be able to skin a rabbit if I needed to. And I reckon I'd probably uncover like an unsettlingly vicious side to my character. But I've started to learn how to shoot with a bow and arrow thanks to the show, so might be able to hold my own.
I'm liking it. Now, obviously, we're so pleased that it couldn't have ever been in question. Obviously, it's season 4, but it has been confirmed now. Where would you like to see Meera going in season 4? And what would anything from the books that you'd love to actually see in season 4?
Well, I can't confirm anything yet because whilst the series is going ahead, I'm not completely sure what's happening. But I'd love it if Meera's storyline, which happens in the books, where, spoiler alert, if anyone hasn't read the books, she goes into this mad cave with children of the forest, and it's incredible. And if that makes its way into the series, I'd absolutely love it, because that sounds wicked, but we'll have to wait and see.
Is there anything you'd like to see happening to the other characters in the show as well? Not necessarily ones in your storyline, but anybody else you've been reading about?
Yeah, well, my favourite character is probably Arya, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how her character develops in the next series, and if it's the same as the books. If it's not, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
How do you think Arya and Meera get on?
I reckon they get on pretty well, actually, because in the books, Bran says that the reason why he likes Meera is because she reminds him of his sister. So I reckon we'd get on like that. Maybe a bit too similar, though. I met Maisie Williams in real life. Obviously, who plays Arya, and she's brilliant. She's really, really cool. So yeah, so I get on with her in real life, but I don't know about in the fictional world.
What have been your favourite scenes and moments you've enjoyed in acting on the small screen so far?
I think Game of Thrones has to be one of my favourite characters that I've played, just because it takes you to mad places, like in the middle of the forest, by a campfire, sharpening an arrow blade or something, and things that I never would have thought I'd be doing. And that's been amazing, and very different to kind of some of the other work I've done. So I guess the other biggest thing that I did was I did a 5-part series of the Diary of Anne Frank, right, which was in a tiny studio, which is completely reconstructed exactly to the dimensions and everything of the actual annex which Anne Frank was in hiding in. So I've done a series like that where we're all cramped up into this tiny space, and then to go on to Game of Thrones where it's massive and so expansive. It was great to be able to have the chance to do loads of stuff in different locations and things.
You've done a lot of stage work too, and you were in Romeo and Juliet, weren't you? And I read that you did a lot of breathing exercises to kind of get into that role as well. And I was wondering if there was anything particular you did to get into the role of Meera for Game of Thrones.
What did I do to get into the role of Meera? I sort of I went out on quite a lot of walks into the woods before I got it, and was how would I behave if I was Meera now? But I always had to do that on my own because I didn't want any of my friends to see me, because that would be much too embarrassing. Luckily, there's a lot of woods around where my parents live, and that was good. But when I actually got there, I guess I did a lot of a little bit of training in archery, which was great, because it's just really nice to be able to know how to use the bow and how to look when I'm holding it. And we had several days of prepping for the rabbit skinning scenes. There was this butcher who came in to teach us how to do it for 3 days. The first job I had to do on Game of Thrones was you're coming for 2 days of rabbit prepping before you start shooting. So yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. And how would you rate yourself as an archer?
Oh, well, I couldn't possibly say. I've got a lot to learn. There's an amazing guy out in Belfast who, when you're filming, if you want to learn how to do archery, you can just ask to book a lesson with him. So I booked a few, but I didn't have enough time in my schedule to book as many as I'd like. So I really want to get good. If I'm back next year, then I'd love to do more and get become a pro. You know, shoot people down. Not people, obviously. Maybe rabbits.
A little bit of Joffrey coming in there.
Yeah. You didn't see that.
What have been your kind of, oh my God, I can't believe they've done it on this show moment so far from the first, second or third series?
I think the maddest thing, this is a small thing, but just the maddest thing was having a whole deer carcass. You know, the scene with Charles Dance when he has to skin that whole deer carcass, and they actually had a real deer on set. And if you think about it, with all of the lights and the crew and everyone shooting that scene for a long time, that was pretty impressive. I mean, you've got to be very dedicated to your job to do that. So that weirdly, even though that was a tiny moment, that was the moment I was like, wow, these guys really care.
Did that make you feel glad that you only had to do rabbits?
Oh yeah, I got off easy by comparison, clearly.
Of course, there's been some striking deaths on the show as well. And obviously, we don't want you to be losing your head or anything else anytime soon. We only just got to know you this season. But if you had to go, how would you like to go?
Oh, wow. What a question. If I had to go, I think it would have to be in a screaming axe fight with Osha. Because she's just, Nat Tena is a lot of fun to work with and she's completely mad. And I reckon that Osha could have a very violent side which would come out. So I think that would be a fun way to die.
And is there anyone you'd like to find at the other end of that arrow?
Oh, I couldn't possibly say. No. I think really, like Meera, ultimately, pretty peaceful character. I think only rabbits and little tiny furry creatures will find themselves on the end of that arrow for now.
For now, yeah. Unless you cross her path.
Yeah, exactly. Don't cross Meera. She'll kill you.
Yes, be warned.
Yeah, totally. I'm not joking. Be warned.
You look quite scary when you say that.
Yeah.
Getting into Meera role.
Yeah, a little bit too much actually. You need to chill out a bit. Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you who your favourite characters are on the show so far. Anybody at all?
Who are my favourite characters? Well, like I already said, Aya is one of my favourite characters. I think she's really cool. I generally just like all of the women who dress like men. I think it's great. I really love the strong female characters, and I think we can only have more of them. So they're I reckon they're the best ones. So they're the ones I've been enjoying most watching so far.
If you could be anybody else in the show, who would you be?
Oh wow, that is a really difficult question. Oh my God, I don't know. Who would you be?
Oh my God, no one's ever asked me.
Yeah, right. Now you know. It's a really hard one.
That is tough.
Yeah. It's a difficult question. I'll have to think on that one and get back to you.
Okay, well, we'll ask you that next time. You think about it well. And what's it meant to you being part of Game of Thrones?
It's been amazing to be part of Game of Thrones because it's such a huge kind of world, and it's something which people across the world are really so into, and I just think that the way it's plotted, it's so intricate and amazing and richly produced. It's amazing to be a part of it, and to get to do all of these go out to Belfast and do all these mad things that I never would have thought I'd done. It's great, and to be doing that and be involved in a series playing a pretty badass character, it's great. I'm loving it.
And what would you like to say to the fans out there who are watching this interview?
If there are any fans watching this interview, I'd just like to say thank you for watching this show. And I hopefully look forward to meeting one of you or many of you sometime at one of these conventions.